have a very special guest right now, Matt Elkind. Thank you so much for joining us. It's great to have you here. You're the director of The Real Housewives of New York. You've done a whole lot of other things. You've got a really, really great career. Talk to me about directing. When you direct, what is involved in that process? Because you're basically managing everybody.
Yes and no. You know, that's an unscripted program, so I'm not directing you to get up from your desk and cross the room and pour yourself a cup of water. I'm directing the cameras so that multiple cameras can, you know, capture that in the most.
How many cameras are we
possible.
shooting in that kind of situation?
We do a lot of two-camera. We have, you know, two-camera teams that work together day in, day out. And then we do a lot of four-camera for larger events. Occasionally we will do a fifth.
So like when they all go to dinner in one restaurant, you'll do 4 or 5 cameras?
Yeah, usually if we have all our ladies together, yeah.
That's pretty amazing. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
What about miking the people up? Like, are they all on wirelesses? I know the sounds guys must go crazy, but when you have them all together, are they all on wireless mics, using booms, using a combination?
Yeah, well, you know, we're capturing what's real, so yes, we do put microphones on our cast. You know, we usually meet up with them, you know, before they start interacting. But you know, if something fails, that boom's got to be ready.
Right.
We have to get it. You know, we're not going to necessarily.
You can't reshoot it. It's reality.
Yeah, and we can't you know, necessarily stop what's going on to fix our technical problems. We have to always.
So
have
is that
a plan
hard
B.
as a director? Is it hard to manage all these moving parts? The 8 microphones you might have, the mic guys making sure that they're doing okay, the camera guys making sure they're getting the shots you need.
Absolutely, it's a lot to manage, but you know, there's a lot of delegation that goes into it as well. There's, you know. Dave Sisterman is the audio supervisor on that show. He does an incredible job. He's really on it. You know, the director of photography is helping make sure everything's running correctly camera-wise. So, yeah, it's a lot to manage, but there's also a lot of delegation and a lot of trust that has to go into it.
And how do you, when everybody's shooting, how do you notice what they're shooting? How do you monitor it? Because it's not, you can't walk around like a movie set would have huge monitors.
Correct.
And you could look at those, but this is not that kind of environment. You're moving around, you're in cars, you're out of cars.
Correct. We are largely, well, historically we have tended to use older standard def, like, you know, Starlink and that kind of stuff. Yeah.
How do you direct the drama? Does it just happen, or are you actually like directing it a little? Is it set up beforehand, or is it all natural?
No, we really want to capture what's real. That's most interesting. And
but do you guys dig a little bit? Like when something sparks, do you dig a little bit? Do you push them a little harder?
You know, my end of it is the visual end. I make sure everybody looks great and that we capture it. I have no idea what kind of conversations transpire between producers and cast.
Do you have
between them.
Do you have like an off-camera story that's like phenomenal, really fun, that over the years you've done it?
That's a good question. Let's come back to that one.
All right. How did you get involved in it?
That show's made by a company called. It's made by a production company called Shed Media, which Shed Media US is based out in LA. Strangely enough, so when we began the series, they realized they needed somebody in New York. I happened to know somebody at that company from a past project, and it just worked out. The network liked what I did, and Leonard Roloff, who's the exec producer season 1, the showrunner, we really hit it off. You know, we had a little interview. He liked what I had to say and looked at some of my work, and away we went. And I was it was definitely started as a smaller operation and it's grown into a larger operation.
Right.
So
as the franchise has grown and as the show's grown.
Yes. So we didn't have a director at that point. I was the director of photography.
Okay.
For the first couple seasons, and then I was trying to kind of do double duty for a while as the show got bigger, and then eventually it became a big enough operation where we needed a standalone director.
That's an interesting note right there. It's interesting to see how efficient you were able to be, how efficient they were able to be, and that they wanted to keep everything low cost and tight, needed to, until the show grew to where it is. That's great. Congratulations. It's awesome. It seems like such a great project and fun project to be involved in. Are you on every shoot? You know, obviously it doesn't seem like you can be on every one of them, but are you on most of them?
I wouldn't even say I'm on most of them. If we're shooting more than 2 cameras, I'm there, for sure. Okay. But we have fantastic field producers, and they, are basically my surrogate. In addition to dealing with a ton of other stuff on the story side, the cast side, and all that kind of stuff, they have to be my surrogate when I can't actually be on set. But because they have so much other stuff to deal with, we try to limit that to just the 2 camera scenarios.
Okay.
So, they can actually manage it.
And you've got a lot of other great projects in the hopper too, right? You've got a documentary you're working on?
There's a couple things going on documentary-wise. I just finished up a film it's called Night of 1,000 Laughs. You can check it out on Facebook. It's a numerical 1,000. If you give it a like, you'll get all the updates and stuff like that. Which is a really strange project that was shot back in 2005 and on a DVX 100 over the course of a week and sat on a shelf for years, and then just recently pulled it out and
Did you like the DVX 100 back in the day when you were shooting with it?
Yeah.
It was a workhorse.
Yeah, and it introduced the whole 24p thing, and it was all anybody wanted to shoot all of a sudden.
Yeah, I shot the DVX 100 for a commercial with Russell Simmons. It seems like 100 years ago now, but that was the camera we bought it specifically for the shoot.
Yeah.
And it's funny when I think back about that, and we all sweated it and argued back and forth, should we do it? And we did it just to get the 24p.
Yes,
and
totally.
Look.
Yeah, and there's another doc project that I've been working on for a couple of years with Nick Budabin is the filmmaker. I've in a DP role on that one. I've been shooting that one for him, and it has an opportunity to be a really important film. It's called Chi-Town, and I highly recommend seeking that out. Looking at the Facebook page for that too. It's about the city of Chicago.
Okay, I figured that.
Yeah, and high school basketball and gun violence.
And so
two things that are.
Is that AAU basketball?
It's not AAU per se. It's not about AAU. It's not specifically about the high school championship or anything like that. It's about the culture of the sport in the city. It's about the culture of the city in a lot of ways, but it kind of hones in on gun violence and on basketball. But kind of some of the best things going on with the youth in Chicago, and some of the things going on with the youth in Chicago that really need to change. And obviously a hot button topic right now.
I think Chicago has the highest crime rate in the nation and the biggest murder rate as well.
Yeah, and obviously gun violence is a big topic right now, and this film has a chance to do something special with that. So definitely keep an eye out for that.
Chi-Town.
It's called Chi-Town, and they're still seeking out some finishing funds and stuff like that. So
check it out on Facebook and get involved in making this film come to reality by donating.
Yeah, totally.
Chi-Town.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And quickly, a Real Housewives story.
Real Housewives story. It's so hard because I signed giant non-disclosure agreements. Trying to think of a story I can actually tell.
All right, real quickly while you're thinking of that, how about A&E? What was that like working on Biography? Because I love that show. Was it just amazing to work on doing those interviews and stuff when you started?
Yeah, it was fun. It was relatively early in my career as a DP that I was doing that. I did a couple very early, and then I did a couple a few years later, and they bop around to a bunch of different production companies over at Biography. But yeah, I got to do some really cool stuff. I got to shoot Alex Winter for the Keanu Reeves episode, which was kind of a career highlight, and I got to do one with Arthur Penn.
Wow.
For the Faye Dunaway episode. He of course directed Bonnie and Clyde, which is one of my favorite films, and that was really cool to get to spend some time with him.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Matt Elkind, thank you so much for your time. Next time we will get a Real Housewives story. I'll make you prepare for that in advance.
Yeah, I'll bring my lawyer and have a little story time.
I appreciate it. Night of 1,000
Laughs.
Night of 1,000 Laughs on Facebook.
Yeah.
And also Chi-Town on Facebook.
Yeah.
And of course, watch The Real Housewives on Bravo.
Season 6.
Season 6 coming up.
Yeah.
Matt, thank you so much for joining us.